Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to episode 4 of AJ's ranking again. Yes, so I've got another ranking video for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Maybe share the video. All this stuff will go a long way to helping the channel and helping the channel improve and helping me produce some good content. Also, please feel free to leave me a comment. All comments will be replied to eventually. Now, this is episode 4 of AJ's Ranking Again, a weekly series whereby I take something, I look at it, and I rank it in order from worst to best. Now, this isn't a definitive list, this is just my opinion. And that's what's great about it. Everyone's got their own opinion, and you're probably not going to agree with me on this list. So that's where in the comments you can get involved. You can tell me your rankings. So in this episode, I'm going to be looking at the Terminator franchise and telling you my thoughts on them from worst to best and why. My list may surprise people. It may not. Who knows? You may agree with me. You may not agree with me. Let me know in the comments. Let's have a nice discussion about it, because that's the great thing about rankings. Everyone's going to be different. Well, some people might agree, but for the most part, people got their own opinions, they've got their own tastes, and that's what's great. If we all like the same stuff, that'd just be boring, wouldn't it now? So let's get on with this. All right, so 6 films. I'm not including the Sarah Connor TV series, which was fantastic, by the way. We're just looking at the 6 theatrical releases. Yeah, so let's get into it. So, number 6. Okay, in 6th place, I'm putting Terminator Genesis. Yes, Terminator Genesis came at us in 2015, directed by Alan Taylor, who was a director on Game of Thrones. He had something to do with Game of Thrones. Now, I'm putting this in last place because, well, it's not a very good film at all. Where to start on it? Okay, it played heavily on nostalgia, all right? It went back and it rewrote an already existing story of Terminator 1, Terminator 2, essentially. But it just failed. So you're playing on nostalgia from the first 2 fantastic films, and you're trying to sort of recapture that again. The film had some good ideas in there. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was fantastic to see Arnold Schwarzenegger back as a more of a sort of aged Terminator, which was brilliant. You know, there was nothing wrong with that. The idea of a good Terminator, the 2 Arnies fighting, that was something that people had wanted to see for a long time. So that was fantastic. But it was just all the nostalgia stuff it was playing on just didn't work. The cast is, I mean, the casting for this film was just way off, okay? So you've got Jason Clarke as John Connor, right? Jason Clarke, he's a good actor in stuff, but he isn't good in this. The fact that they actually turned him into the villain of the piece and gave that away in the market material, that lets the film down drastically, you know. Yeah, to take John Connor and do this to him is a travesty to that character. It just didn't work. Emilia Clarke stars as a young, well, not young Sarah Connor, as Sarah Connor. But she looks like a child. She looks young, she looks frail. She was obviously cast because of her Game of Thrones stuff and the link to Alan Taylor. And yeah, she was... There's been 3 Sarah Connors. Yeah, Linda Hamilton, the greatest. Lena Headey, also from Game of Thrones. She was very good in the Sarah Connor TV series. But Emilia Clarke, she just didn't work as Sarah Connor. She was abysmal. Like I said, she looked like a little girl. And then we've got Jai Courtney. Jai Courtney, why? Why Hollywood keeps trying to make this guy relevant, trying to make him a thing? It's just not going to work. He comes from a long line of these generic, interchangeable actors that are just boring. The film for me also loses points on the fact that J.K. Simmons stars, who's a fantastic, brilliant actor, one of the best. He's superb, and he's wasted in this movie. You know, you'd be forgiven to remember that he's even in it. He played a copper. He played a copper that saw the events of the first film, and then when they jumped forward in time. So, also, the film was meant to set up a trilogy of films and ultimately failed. And this is the fact of quite a few of the Terminator films, actually. 50% of the Terminator films were meant to set up a new ongoing story arc trilogy and ultimately failed, which doesn't bode well, does it? So, yeah, so it's just a mess of a film. It's not very good, touching upon stuff that it couldn't compete with anyway. I don't know if, you know, drawing on your nostalgia strings. Yeah, so last place has to go Terminator Genesis. Not a very good film at all. Okay, so on to my fifth spot. So in number 5, I'm going to put Terminator Salvation, 2009. Okay, this film came at us directed by McG, who made himself a bit of a name for himself on directing the 2 Charlie's Angel films. So it was a bit of an odd choice given his style on Charlie's Angels, but okay, we'll go with it. And we got the news that obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't returning to the role, and it was going to be set during the future war. Fantastic, you know, what could go wrong? This was, you know, this is what people had been waiting for. Those scenes in Terminator 2 with the future war, brilliant. We was going to get a film set during that. Then we got a film set primarily in the desert. Yeah. This film, again, you know, it's got a fantastic cast, brilliant cast. You got Christian Bale, right? Fantastic actor. You got Anton Yelchin, who was brilliant and probably stole the film as a young Kyle Reese. Bryce Dallas Howard starred, although again you'd be forgiven to remember if you even remember that she was in the film. And Helena Bonham Carter had a part, and she's a good actress. We also had Sam Worthington, who, funnily enough, the film that I just ranked in number 6 place, he's one of them actors that's a bit interchangeable with Jai Courtney. Yeah, he's one of I'd rank him in the same sort. But anyway, so the film came out. Sam Worthington was quite big at the time. You know, he was like a new, fresh face. And to be fair, he'd done all right in the film. Problem with this film, for me, is it's visually, it's boring. It's a dull visual film. All being set in the desert. It sets you up for this grand battle of what you've always wanted to see, and this is meant to be on, you know, on the eve of them attacking Skynet and all this sort of thing. And yeah, it's just there's great ideas in there, yeah, but then there's abysmal ideas as well. You've got to ask yourself, why would Skynet create snake-like Terminators in water? Why would they create these big hulking, towering Transformer-style robots? If not because Transformers had been quite successful recently. Why have you got motorcycle Terminators? All right, they were pretty cool, don't get me wrong. The motorcycle ones were quite good. But for the most part, all these other things felt like toys. Felt like they're made for toys. But yeah, so the story itself it's okay. It's okay. They copped out at the end. As for the cast, like I said, a wonderful cast, but Christian Bale, brilliant actor, but Christ, was he miscast as John Connor? He's, you know, you thought, oh, you know, on face value, he looks like a fantastic John Connor, don't get me wrong, but he just didn't work in the role. Sam Worthington, this is probably one of his best performances, and he was pretty good in it. But the film is so visually different than all the others, which could be a plus for some people, but it's just all desert set. The effects are great, don't get me wrong, and all this sort of stuff, but it's just so visually boring, and the film does drag. It does get quite boring as it goes on. So for me, that would be my 5th spot for a Terminator film. Now, in fourth place. Okay, in fourth place, I'm going to put Terminator Dark Fate. The latest Terminator film from 2019, directed by Tim Miller, who'd previously, a year before, directed Deadpool. Or a couple of years before, I can't remember. Whereas the last two films had a 12A age rating, this film stepped the rating back up to a 15, so it promised a bit more violence, a bit more gore, like we had in the very early Terminator films. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger returning, you had Linda Hamilton returning as Sarah Connor, and this would be the first time since 1991, so fantastic. Although she did have a voice role in Terminator Salvation where she recorded the message over the recorder. That's an aside. But yeah, so first time for her returning. Gabriel Luna, he played the Rev 9, the new evil robot in the film, which was a Terminator that had a endoskeleton, a metallic endoskeleton, but he had liquid metal outer form, and they could separate and function as two Terminators. Great idea, really good. Now, obviously the film did kill off John Connor at the beginning. I had no real problem with that. People did. It had no issue with me. I thought the story was fine. I thought, you know, it did try and take Terminator back to Terminator what we knew and what we loved. Ultimately, it did fail in some areas of that. There was a good film in there within this film, but it wasn't the best film. It had some good ideas. Gabriel Luna, like I said, was great as the new Terminator. Mackenzie Davis as the heroic part robot, part human, with robotic parts grafted into her. That is a fascinating idea that they could have explored more. The idea of the human resistance resorting to Terminator-like technologies almost revert to, in turning themselves robotic to counteract the fight with the robots, is quite a fascinating idea that you potentially could be becoming what you're fighting against, becoming what you hate. There's an idea there that could be explored. The other idea that you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a remnant of a lost timeline. That in itself is a fantastic idea, that he is a Terminator from this timeline that's failed. So he's essentially an obsolete model. He's an obsolete type of robot that in this timeline never actually existed. And he's lived this life, and he's become a drape salesman. You know, that sounds stupid, but to be honest, you know, there's an interesting story in there, and as you're watching this film, you find this stuff out. You're kind of like, I want to see that. I want to watch that. Do you know what I mean? There's something to be said. Ultimately, it's a chase movie. It's a Terminator movie. It gives you exactly what you want. I've only seen it twice. First viewing was fine. Second viewing, it did dip a bit in my mind. It started to bore me a bit. So on subsequent viewings after that, I don't know. I could have a mind change on how these films sit. That's just the way it is. But yeah, so fourth place is Terminator Dark Fate. Hello everyone, this is just a quick intermission, just a quick channel shout out. I hope you're enjoying this video, and I hope you love the Terminator franchise. Well, you're watching this, so you must do. I want to give a shout out to a fabulous channel, Matt V's Movies. Yes, he's got a wonderful selection of physical media that he's been showing off recently. He's recently gone through all his Terminator sets that he has, and boy, they're fantastic. I'm jealous. He's got some brilliant stuff. You should head over there, check him out, give him a sub, tell him AJ sent you. Yeah, so that's Matt V Movies. Obviously I've put up a cutaway so you can see, but go check out his stuff. It's well worth it. Brilliant. Thanks for watching, and now back to this. So, moving into my third place. Okay, we can probably guess what this is anyway. So, in third place, 2003, Terminator Rise of the Machines. Yeah, so we got Terminator come back to us after about 12-year absence on the big screen. This came at us, it was rated 12A, so it was made for a younger audience, but the film had a huge budget. And all that money, to be fair, is up on the screen. The film was directed by Jonathan Mostow, who was an interesting choice because he'd recently directed U-571, which was a very good film, and he directed a Kurt Russell film called Breakdown, which, if you haven't seen, is a fantastic movie. Okay, so the movie obviously saw Arnold Schwarzenegger returning as the titular android. Nick Stahl came and joined the cast as John Connor. Edward Furlong was a bit out of his nut on drugs and stuff like that. You had Claire Danes of Homeland fame. She played Catherine Brewster. And she was fantastic in it. She's a fantastic actress. And you had Kristanna Loken, who was the new protagonist of the film, the new hunter robot, the TX. And she was pretty damn good. So, as for the story for this one, it catches up years later after the second film, and John Connor's kind of living off the radar. We find out that Sarah Connor has died of cancer, off screen obviously, in the gap between the films. Yeah, which did play into the Sarah Connor Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV series. If you haven't seen that series, it's worth checking out. Anyway, sorry, back to this film. So yeah, Sarah Connor had died. A new robot in the form of Kristanna Loken is sent back in time to go and kill the people surrounding John Connor, his team of people in the future that help him out in the war against the machines. On her journey there, she does come across John Connor, and while she's trying to kill Claire Danes' character, or Claire Danes' father, she's going after. The film subsequently becomes a chase on the road movie, all the way through. Now, I know the age rating had dropped, but this film is a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, right? It's expensive and all that money is up on the screen. You know, the visuals are great. Right, there's a couple of bits that aren't so great that stand out at the gravesite, but there you go. But for the most part, 99% of the film, it looks fantastic, and the film just runs from beginning to end as an action movie. It doesn't let up pace from beginning to end. It's a really fun movie. I actually remember going to cinema to see it. I took my son to see it. He was 4 years old. Yes, that's that's parenting for you. But he loved it. He thought it was good. You know, like I said, the film was a 12A, so you could take kids to see the film. There's one exception for the violence, which is when the hand comes through the policeman from the back of the car and grabs the steering wheel, maybe. No, it doesn't grab the steering. And that comes through and he's looking at it. Now, I thought, oh, that's a bit much. But for the most part, the film is enjoyable. It's fun. I know it makes some mistakes, you know, when he goes into the club at the beginning, and some of it's played for laughs and that, and the star sunglasses. But to be fair, he does take them off. He drops on the floor, he steps on them. Come on, at least he does that. The talk to the hand stuff, all right, that's going a bit too far. But for the most part, it's an enjoyable, fun idea. The TX, she worked for the most part, although you did feel that after watching Terminator 2 and coming into this one, that you felt that Skynet had taken a regression in the type of Terminator that they were sending, because fully liquid metal, and now you've reverted back to an endoskeleton with liquid metal around it. Yeah, surely liquid metal would be better, but I'm sure there's some story about that being a prototype. But anyway, you know, the chase scene with the big truck, fantastic, where Arnie's hanging on and it's going crashing through the building. The end scene where the helicopter comes crashing in, and you know, the makeup, or well, not even makeup, is it? The CGI there when Arnie's part robot and part man, where he's got a leg missing, arm, you know, he's got skin on the leg missing, skin on the arm missing, half his face is gone. You can actually see through the holes of the endoskeleton. You know, that looks really fantastic. And this film has got a brave ending to it. You know, to actually give us this story where you believe that Arnie's trying to get these two to stop. You know, that he's getting them to stop Judgment Day, only to find out that that wasn't his mission at all. His mission was actually to just save them and protect them from Judgment Day. And then all the rockets lift off, and it's such a poignant ending. It's such a brave ending, and you know, like I said, okay, this film isn't a patch on the next two films, or as in the list of mine, but it's far superior than the 3 films below this. It's just a fun, exciting, escapist film, and I love it. I love Terminator 3. Great film. So that brings me to my number 2 spot. 16th of August 1991, Terminator 2. Yes, I'm going to put Terminator 2 in second place. Now, I know that a lot of people would likely put this in first place, but I've got my reasons, which I'll share with you. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic film. It's a fantastic action film. It's a fun ride, you know. The cast is amazing, you know. Arnold Schwarzenegger's amazing in it. Linda Hamilton bulked up for it. She looks amazing, and the growth of her character is fantastic. You know, where she becomes like this female Rambo. Robert Patrick was menacing as the T-1000 robot. Edward Furlong, I've never really liked Edward Furlong. I can sort of take him or leave him. I do find the character of John Connor in this to be a slight bit annoying, but there you go. That's just my thoughts. But the film, it's a fantastic film. It's got fantastic action set pieces. The money's there all on the screen. And therein lies part of the problem, because that money reduced the rating to 15. Now, that in itself isn't an issue. But my main issue with the film is in its narrative. Narratively speaking, and I'll explain to you why. And this is where the external forces of budget and all that came into play. Okay, so this film had to drop its budget because of the amount of money that the film cost to make. They wanted to see a return on that investment. So reduce the budget, reduce the age rating from 18 to 15. You're going to open them doors to a lot more people. And that's exactly what they've done. So, in my mind, the perfect setup for this film is Arnold Schwarzenegger comes back, like he does, as the T-800. When he enters the bar at the beginning, he kills people, like he done in the first Terminator film, right? Because this is how the film is set up for you in a narrative manner. It's set up in the same way as the first film, that you don't know who the protagonist is or you're led to believe that Arnie's back, Arnie's evil, right? But he goes into this bar, he doesn't kill anyone, he just beats them up, right? That's all he does, throw someone through a window. He doesn't actually kill anyone like in the first film. Then you see Robert Patrick appear, right? And purposefully, you don't see him kill that police officer, right? For all you know, he's just knocked the police officer out, stole his clothes. Okay? So, narratively speaking, this is what we should have had. This is how the film plays out. You go into the film, you've seen the first one, you go into the second one, not knowing, you're thinking, okay, so another Terminator's been sent back to kill John Connor, another robot, and a human protector, a weedier, littler guy has come back to protect John Connor, right? And it's not until you get to that scene in the shopping mall when John Connor's trapped between the two of them that you realise actually there's a switcheroo. But this didn't happen. Number one, through advertising and marketing material, which can't be helped. It happens, although they could have marketed it a bit better in that sense. But number two, because of the budget constraints and the fact that we couldn't have Arnie kill people at the beginning. He should have killed people, right? He should have killed people up until that point where John Connor says to him, don't kill anyone. Because he's prepared to shoot that geezer on the car, but he doesn't, right? But at the beginning of the film, when people are attacking him, he just beats them up. He's a Terminator. He should have not, you know, either that or tell us that he's been programmed to not hurt anyone. But that's not the case because he's about to kill a person on the car. You know, you could argue, well, that person weren't a threat to John Connor. The geezer's a Terminator. Let him terminate at the beginning. So, narratively speaking, that would have been a much better beginning for me. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to see. So I have issues with the start of the film in that sense. As the film progresses, there is a lull in the middle of the film where the T-1000 just kind of vanishes for ages, and you get to the desert setting. It gets a bit sort of like, it does get a little bit tedious at that point, then goes back into the action at the end. Right, so don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic film and I love it, but I have issues with it from a narrative perspective that would have elevated the film for me and made it far superior. But we can't have it all. It is a fantastic film, and yeah, so that's that. Okay, and to my number one spot. Now you'll know the answer. Number one is The Terminator, the 1984 original, that in this country, in the UK, we actually got on January 11th, 1985. Again, this was directed by James Cameron, and it's a very low budget, visceral film. Now, I was very young when this film came out. When this film came out, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. And I remember seeing it when it, yeah, a couple of years after it came out, when it hit sort of video. I may have even seen it on pirate. I wouldn't be surprised if my brothers had got hold of a pirate copy and I'd seen a pirate version, not aware. Now, this film gave me chills in the sense that it gave me nightmares. The unstoppable machine, the red eyes. So when I went to bed at night as a kid and I'm in my bedroom and there's like a VCR unit or a TV with a little red light on, or an alarm clock with a little red light, I can't remember what it was, but your mind starts going when you're in that darkness. It's that sort of a film. Now, yeah, this is a fantastic film. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was fantastic in it. He was scary, he was menacing. Carl Reese was a fantastic character, played by Michael Biehn. Sarah Connor, she was, again, Linda Hamilton, young Linda Hamilton. She was brilliant. She was, you know, sort of a naivety to her, you know, and yeah, she was, but she came across as brave but naive, and with an element of, you know, she needed protecting. She couldn't do it herself. But yeah, so the film, I know that the effects, you know, aren't great in areas. I know the puppetry work, but accept it for what it is. This film had a tiny budget, right? It relied on a lot of sort of guerrilla filmmaking, and where they, you know, they didn't have permits to film. But narratively speaking, again, this film, it doesn't bore. It's just fantastic from beginning to end. It hits the ground running. The futuristic stuff was brilliant. It's, you know, and it's. As a kid, it scared the crap out of me. It really did. So, you know, Terminator, the very first one, I've got to put above Terminator 2. Because it is the film that started it all. It's much like trying to rank Alien and Aliens, to be honest. But, you know, T2, like I said, it let itself down for me narratively. Whereas this film doesn't. It just keeps the ball running all the time. And you've got such ambiguity as to what's to come at the end, you know, with that metaphorical line about storms on the horizon and all this sort of stuff, and you know, yeah, it's a fantastic film, and the loop to find out that actually John Connor's father is Carl Reese and all this, it's fantastically written. It's a really good film. I know it ain't got the budget of the others, but, you know, brilliant film. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So, in summary, 6th place, Genesis. 5th, Salvation. 4th, Dark Fate. Then Terminator 3, Terminator 2, Terminator 1. That's my rankings for these films. Why don't you tell me yours? Get in the comments and let me know what you think. How would you rank these movies? I'm interested to hear what you've got to say. And if you don't agree with me, let me know. Just let me know. You know, like I said, everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone's opinion differs. My opinion's not correct. It's just my opinion. Also, if you're still here and you're a new viewer, please hit the subscribe button. I will next week have another ranking video coming up. I don't know what it is yet. I've got some ideas. Also, hit the notification bell so you can keep apprised of all my upcoming content. Also, just to let you know, I am now on Facebook and on Instagram under AJ's Movie Place. Just search for them, add me, and yeah, help me out. So anyway, thank you for coming on this journey. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time here at AJ's Movie Place. Thank you all. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful evening, and good night.